We have to talk about that. I had no idea.
Wow.
I have
Get
no
that book
memory.
out of the way,
Zero.
though.
No, I remember.
But, you know, I was on drugs and they didn't tell me it had a side effect at that time.
Could be.
No, I was on anabolic steroids. I found out later on the effect.
Paranoid.
Worse than paranoid.
Let's go.
You're kidding me? I did that? And that's what you found me.
Told Moshe about it today also.
You still alive?
Maybe what's his name forgot. Remember we mentioned
Okay,
it?
we had to talk about it later.
Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, last
I knew
night.
you were angry at me and I never knew why. I thought you were angry because I left you with one.
No.
I didn't. Me personally? I spoke.
When you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. 9:31.
Let's go.
Why are you sitting over there?
What? That's what we
Why?
So the Zucker, you see other people.
I thought what could be nice, since we're the 9 days. We are in the 9 days, and of course everybody knows, I shouldn't say everybody knows, but next Sunday, actually really Shabbos, but they moved it to Sunday because you can't fast on Shabbos. It's Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, of course, is the 9th of Av, and we commemorate the destruction of the temple, Beis Hamikdash, twice. In fact, 5 things happen on that day, on Tisha B'Av. So Tisha B'Av is a very, very sad day for the Jews, because we're looking here at the destruction of the first temple, destruction of the second temple. That was also the day that God decreed the spies came and they issued a false report by Moshe Rabbeinu, and God decreed that the Jews would have to wander in the desert 40 years, and then the next generation would go into Eretz Yisrael. So you have that also. That was the third thing that happened. And there are other things that happened also. By the way, World War I broke out on Tisha B'Av. It's interesting. World War I broke out on Tisha B'Av also, And other events, powerful events also occur on Tisha B'Av. Anyway, I thought that I would go into some of the ideas of the 9 days of Tisha B'Av. I thought it would be very valuable, since we have the opportunity to commemorate that day, so on. One of the difficult things to understand, it's very hard for people to relate to Tisha B'Av. We don't feel the sadness that we should, People are into spirituality, they understand Beis Hamikdash, understand many things about it, they're into this, The average person doesn't really connect with Tisha B'Av. And it's really for obvious reasons. Because we don't really know what we lost. That's the problem. When somebody loses a relative, they know what they lost. They lose a mother, a father, so they mourn. The essence of Tisha B'Av is mourning, Avedus, or Avedut, as they say in this place. So you know what you lost. But Tisha B'Av, we lost the temple. It was a magnificent edifice. And if you take a look at what the second temple looked like, that Herod built, it was probably the greatest religious structure in the entire world. It was huge. And there are many things that occurred on Tisha B'Av and so on. So it was really unbelievable to say, whoever hasn't seen the Beis Hamikdash beauty hasn't seen beauty in the world. It was magnificent. You just look at the models and you get a feel, wow, this is not just a building, this house, But of course, for us, it wasn't just the beauty of the building which Herod wanted to do. It was really the place of the divine presence. Shekhinah itself is an interesting concept. The concept of the Shekhinah itself, that God decided that He would make His presence available, actually experience. That's what it means. God doesn't live here. We're not talking about a being that can be encompassed by a building. If you really think about that, how wide is God? How big is God? You ever think about that? What? Well, I don't know how big He is, but I can tell you how big His minimum size. How's that sound? What's this minimum size? Anybody know?
It's as big as our, it's as big as our spirit, it's as big as our consciousness. It's as
Well,
big,
there's
it's
no
as
measure
big
for
as,
consciousness.
it's as big of as how we.
No, but I got you. That's nice.
Years across.
Let's get down to a physical.
Mekoyim Shalom.
What?
Mekoyim Shalom.
Mekoyim Shalom, but there's no. How big is Mekoyim Shalom?
3.7
far as-
billion
How much?
light years
How much?
of space. That's only in our physical.
How much? It said, what you
15
said?
billion.
What did you just say?
3.7 billion.
The universe, the known universe, as it is understood
15
today,
billion is
is 13.7 billion light years. A
expanded.
light year is a measure of distance, not of time. A light year is a measure of distance, not of time.
It's 6 trillion miles long.
And light travels in 1 year 6 trillion miles. So 6 trillion times 13.7 billion is the size of the universe. And since we know that all things emanate from God, so God has to be at least 13.7 billion times 6 trillion. That number is humongous. We can't even understand that
That's not
number.
even minimum because.
But that's how big God is. I mean, talk about the size, literally the size of the universe. But I want to tell you some, God is much larger than that because you have the Kabbalistic worlds. And nobody has any understanding of, where they are, what they are, and so on. So obviously the Russian is vast. The real answer, God doesn't have size. I'm not going into
buy a
that
suit still.
place. Yeah.
He has no size.
He has no size. We have to understand why. But that's the ongoing shroom that I'm going to give him. Talk a little about God, who he is, what he is, how we understand who God is, and so on. We'll get into that. But in any case, so it's very hard for us to relate to the Beis Hamikdash because we don't know really what we lost. Remember, what did we lose really was a building, magnificent edifice. But so was the World Trade Center. I mean, nobody cries. They cry about the loss of life in the World Trade Center. Nobody cries about the building. The building now is a beautiful place. Instead of the World Trade Center, But it's the loss of life. By the Beis Hamikdash, we mourn the loss of the divine presence. That's what we really mourn. Okay? And we have no idea what the divine presence is, what it felt like, what the experience was. It must have been awesome. In fact, the only way you could really feel the divine presence today is, we're all by the Kessin. When you go to the Kessin, the wall, and you stay there, and if you're spiritually sensitive, you can feel a presence that you do not feel anywhere else in the world. I've traveled the world, I'm a speaker, so I've been all around the world, and I've never experienced what I experienced with the Kessin. There's something there, I can't touch it. Obviously I can't touch it, and so on. But take it from me, I've been all out to Europe, South Africa, all the United States, Canada, I've been around, South Africa and so on. Gibraltar, Spain, you name it, You do not feel what you feel by the Kessin. There's something there. And we know because God said that's the remnant, that He will never abandon the wall. And that's a medrash, by the way, that was written 2,000 years ago, where the medrash says that the Kessin will always remain, which is astounding because how would they possibly know what's going to happen in 2,000 years? How could they possibly know that? But they had their proofs, their psukim. Their knowledge of what would happen for 2,000 years, right, is actually proof of their ability to intuit divine experiences. Because they said that this war will never be destroyed. And guess what? It never was. The Romans couldn't destroy it. Believe me, they destroyed everything else. One wonders why they couldn't destroy the Kessin. But they didn't. Because why is that? How did Chazal know? Because in essence, God will not abandon His people. There always has to be a she'eris, a remainder, some place where you can hook into God. He won't abandon the Jews, totally. He does, it looks like He abandons the Jews, but the Jews sin, unfortunately. But there's always a place. So what God is really saying is, listen, you still got my finger. I'm out of here. But I give you this, the edge of the finger you can still grab onto. You see, and grab it onto me is to experience something of what was divine experience. So it's really incredible. It's personal. So in that sense, but you have to really be zercha to do that. Zercha means you have to really merit that. You know, a lot of people go to the wall. I think most people feel something. I mean, I have a friend who he was a guy. He went to the wall, started crying. He didn't even know why. What's wrong with me? He started crying, and then of course he converted to Judaism. It's a downward story, man. And this guy was a goy, you know. But obviously, in him must be a Yiddish neshama, a Jewish soul. You know, who knows? Far back in his history, he was a Jew that converted, whatever, and that soul spoke to him, and he converted. Amazing guy. But in any case, so that's part of the problem. That we really do not connect to the Beis Hamikdash because we don't really know what we lost. You see, this is part of the problem. But in any case. But there's certain difficulties here, you know. The Beis Hamikdash, the first temple was destroyed. So, historians say 586 BCE. It's not really not accurate. It's probably something like 410. 410 BCE, the first temple was destroyed. That's a long time ago. That's 2,500 years ago. The second temple was destroyed about 2,000 years ago. That's a very long time ago. So the real question is, why do we observe Tisha B'Av? It was the sins of that generation. The Talmud says, the Gemara says, sinas chinam, baseless hatred, is what destroyed the temple. Baseless hatred. There's a great deal to speak about baseless hatred. Sinas chinam was the reason why the temple was destroyed. What's interesting is the Gemara in Yoma asks, says, I can understand why the first temple was destroyed because of the three sins that if you are asked to give up your life, you need to give up your life. And if you don't, you're not culpable, but it's a mitzvah to let yourself die. Which are they? It's Gilei Rais, which is adultery, basically it's adultery. Gilei Rais. Shrichas Domem, murder. If somebody puts a gun to you and says, you need to kill that guy, or else that kill you, it's preferable to allow yourself to be killed. And the third one is Avodah Zarah, to worship idols. Those are the three great sins for which a person is commanded to give up his life. If he doesn't, it's not held against him. It's not held against him. But it's a mitzvah to give up your life. Okay, so the Gemara says in the first temple era, Jews were committing those three sins. So the Gemara says, I can understand why the first temple was destroyed, because of those three sins. The Jews were committing those three sins. Worshipping idols, there was adultery, and there was bloodshed. Fine. But why was the second temple destroyed? There was so much Torah in the second temple. The Gemara was written in the second temple, not in the first. Normally, Mishnah is in the second temple. So why was the second temple destroyed? So the Gemara says, sinas chinam, baseless hatred. So the Gemara says that's incredible. Why? Because it took three sins of which we are commanded to give up our lives to destroy the first temple. The second temple, all it took was baseless hatred. You didn't even have to commit. All you had to do was hate the Jew. And that was enough to destroy the temple. Which shows you two very important things. I will mention them because they're very good to know. The first idea is that in the end, what does God want in the end for Jews? He wants you half to the rest of Kamoicha, and you will love your neighbor as yourself. God wants Ahavas Yisrael. God wants the Jews to love each other. Okay, because sinas chinam is the reverse. Where you hate Jews, where you hate. Why? Because of no reason. So God wants the Ahavas Yisrael. Why? Because Ahavas Yisrael, the love of a Jew for another, creates achdus, unity. God wants unity of Jews. He really wants it. And if Jews are not unified, God says, I'm out of here. That's it. I'm out of here. And the second thing is, what caused the baseless hatred? So the Chofetz Chaim says, what caused the baseless hatred was Lashon Hara. Evil talk. Slander. Slander, the power of slander, when one guy walks over to you and says, you hear what they're talking about Weiss? Do you hear what they're saying about him? And let's say it's bad news. Because Weiss only has good news to talk about. Right? That's Lashon Hara. That's slander. So when you slander somebody, so what are you going to feel about Rabbi Weiss? You're not going to feel very good about it. you're going to grow to dislike him. Especially if I say, you know what Rabbi Weiss said about you? You can't believe this. And you're going to say, your ears perk up and say, yeah, what did he say about me? He said, you're an absolute idiot. Now, how would you feel? Of course, Rabbi Weiss is not capable even of saying something like that. You know? But how would you feel Rabbi Weiss? You'd hate him. Really hate him, right? How can you say that about me? That's called rechilus. Lashon hara, basically. Slander. And slander will destroy, like nothing else, the love that a Jew has for another. Wipe it out. So God hates Lashon hara, and He hates the sinas chinam, and He destroyed His temple. That's how great He hated it. Imagine for a father to burn down His temple, not only that, but to leave the temple, so the Jews have no access to God the way it was then. It's unbelievable. So sinas chinam, racist hatred, and Lashon hara, really, you can't get better than them in terms of, in fact, Lashon hara is why we're still in Golos. The reason why we are in exile, the reason why we have Goyim who destroy us, who kill us and all that, is ultimately because we are not united, because there's so much Lashon hara amongst us, and so on. But anyway, that's a talk in itself, Lashon hara. But we really have to ask the question and say, wait a minute. The reason why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed was because of sinas chinam and Lashon hara. So what do you want from us? Why do I have to commemorate this for? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they did it. Their fault. You know what I'm saying? So what do you want from me? You know, why can't I wear sneakers? There's 5 things you can't do on Tisha B'Av. You know? What do you want from me? I didn't do this stuff. Their fault. So why do I have to commemorate Tisha B'Av? It's a very valid question. You know, I'm not even talking about how do we connect to Tisha B'Av. The real question is, what do I even do it for? I didn't do this. You know, you want to blame somebody, blame them, don't blame me. If I gotta go through 9 days, imagine 3 weeks, I can't listen to music. You know, can't shave, can't listen to music. You get to the 9 days, you know, in 9 days you can't travel. It's really difficult and so on. So what do you want from me? This is a classic question of Tisha B'Av.
Aren't we perpetuating destruction?
So the question is how?
Really, Lashon hara is not pretty rampant today too, isn't it?
Yes, quite right.
Any worse?
So you have to say, yeah, well. So there are many ideas that one can think about, you know? But one of the key ideas in the end, which really is the answer, the Gemara says, it's a Gemara, it's Yerushalmi. The Gemara says that any generation in which the Beis HaMikdash was not built, it is considered as if it had been destroyed. You know, normally we say, okay, the Beis HaMikdash is not around. Okay, it's not around. But the Gemara doesn't say, well, it just never got built because they didn't come with the money or whatever. They didn't do the things, you know, that you need. But the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara says if the Beis HaMikdash wasn't built now, then you can consider it as if it was destroyed by us. That's a very interesting statement. What does that statement mean? You know what that means? It means this, that when the 9 days come, Rosh Chodesh Av, okay, all of a sudden there's a humongous judgment in heaven. In terror. They convene the court. What's the issue? Should we or should we not rebuild the Beis HaMikdash? Yeah, there's actually a court that's convened, right? So what do? They examine, right, the acts of the Jews. They took a look at their sinas chinam. They take a look at their sinas chinam, and they take a look. They take a look at their sinas chinam, and they take a look also at the Lashon hara. And what do? They come to the conclusion, what's the verdict? No, it can't be built. Which is interesting. That means it's an active attempt every year from Rosh Chodesh on to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. Right? Is a legal discussion in court, in the heavenly tribunal. Should we or should we not build the Beis HaMikdash? And they take a look and they say no. So what kind of a verdict is that? So the verdict means this. If they looked at our generation, right, 2,000 years ago, they would have destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. Because it's the same judgment. There is no difference if they look at you and say, you don't deserve to have it, and it's standing, we will destroy it. Or if they have a judgment and say, will we rebuild it? No, same thing. Because had they looked at us, so to speak, 2,000 years ago, they would have destroyed it. It's amazing. That means we would have destroyed our sins was sufficient in both quality and quantity, right? To actually destroy the temple. But since it's not standing, so the verdict can't be destroyed, so the verdict is you can't build it. So the legal decision that you can't build is what's called tantamount, equivalent to the legal decision to destroy. Got that? It's incredible that we destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. We. Means our generation has actually destroyed the temple because it wasn't built. So the reason why we commemorate Tisha B'Av isn't because they destroyed it 2,000 years ago. That was their problem. Our problem is that we just destroyed because of us. You see that from the Gemara, which is very powerful. It shows you that there's always an active force. God always wants to come home. He always wants to rebuild the temple because the temple is his house, so to speak, or more accurately speaking, that's where his presence can be felt. He always wants to do it. It's not that, well, God will say, well, should I come back or not? No. Every year there's an active force. There's an active desire. I want to come back.
Rabbi, isn't in reality the Beit HaMikdash man himself?
You are,
Is it? I just yeah. I'm just
yeah,
like-
you are on a tangent.
Huh?
You are on a tangent of what I'm saying. But since you did comment, so I will say that the physical place called the Beis HaMikdash parallels the human body. The human body parallels 10 spheres.
Yeah.
So in essence, you want to see, is there a physical structure that parallels the human body? Brain, heart, liver, and all the organs. The answer is yes. That's what the temple really is. The temple is a copy, a model of the human being, the physical, in construction form. And the human being is a model of the upper worlds and the 10 emanations of God. See? In fact, why do we have 10 fingers? Just as an example, because you really can go into it. Why do we have 10 fingers? Because there are 10 divine emanations. And God, Spirit, and God interacts with the universe through those forces. So how do we interact with the world? 10 fingers. This is how we interact, our hands. You see. So therefore the 10 fingers of man actually represent the 10 spheres or divine emanations, more accurately the divine forces of creation. And we really are a model of that. You see. That's why we have 10 fingers. Somebody, of course, who's a smart guy is going to say, well, 10 fingers, what about 10 toes? Like a gold. Well, check out the toes. 10 toes. Why do we have 10 toes? Because there are two sets of 10 spheres. The first 10 is called spheres the equivalent. It's called circular spheres. I'll tell you why. What God does is he emanates a force that creates existence and maintains it and cannot be altered no matter what. So those forces maintain existence. They never change. Then there's another 10 spheres that God emanates, and they can be altered. They can be altered. So the 10 spheres that maintain the existence of the world and are never altered, those are the 10 toes. Because the 10 toes provide stability. That's how you walk, because they have 10 toes. So they provide the stability, they never change. The 10 fingers, they're always interacting. It's interesting. It's an incredible parallel. The human form is an unbelievable parallel to the upper world's divine forces. And the Beis HaMikdash is a parallel to that. Anyway. So therefore, we now understand why we commemorate Tisha B'Av. Because we destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. Yes, on Friday there was a din Torah, there was a court case. Should we or should we not build the Beis HaMikdash? Well, we don't know. What do we got? 7 days to go? We don't really know what the verdict is. If we go to another Tisha B'Av, then the verdict was no. We cannot build it, which is the equivalent of we need to destroy if it had been standing. So that's why we commemorate Tisha B'Av. We don't commemorate, we actually observe something we caused. What a difference. Tremendous difference in understanding what Tisha B'Av is really all about. Yes?
You say we don't know, but we do know.
Well, we don't know yet because we have till Tisha B'Av
Yeah.
to find out.
But we know that there's a lot of Lashon Hora and Sinas Pina and the thing. And that's my generation, my children's, my grandchildren,
Yes.
and in the past history. So why is there a doubt that it won't be?
Your question is a very good question. Unfortunately, you're right. We do know. Because it's the same Lashon Hara going on that was for generations, millennium, I should say. The same Lashon Hara and the same slander which destroys the unity of the Jewish people. So in essence, you are right, yes. However,
I want hope.
what?
I want hope that there will be. So what hope do I have?
You have hope for several reasons. But I wanted to go on with the Shia.
Build up to it.
Okay.
The answer to your question is a whole lecture in itself. Sorry, I'm sorry. So therefore, we now know a very important idea, that the reason why we commemorate Tisha B'Av is because we caused the destruction now. And therefore, Tisha B'Av comes, we did it. That's the first idea. But, so most people think that the reason why the temple was destroyed, or rather why we commemorate Tisha B'Av, is because of the loss of the temple. I'm telling you, we caused the destruction. That's true. There's something worse, much worse than this. Yes, the concept of Tisha B'Av, the destruction of the temple, caused two things. We are only familiar with the first, the destruction of the building itself. But the truth is there's something worse, that once the temple is destroyed, something happened that's really bad news. What is it? That's the question. Yeah, of course we don't have the temple, so therefore we don't have all the miracles that the temple had. The temple had 10 ongoing miracles every day. For instance, if you didn't believe in God, you walk into the temple, it was a miracle staring you in the face. For instance, what was the temple for? Basically, it was a butcher shop. Think about that. There were millions of sacrifices on Erev Pesach. You know how many Korban Pesach they brought? Millions. I mean, there were millions of Jews. So you imagine processing 1 million different sacrifices? Humongous. How do they do it? There's no butcher shop in the world that can do that. Yet they did it in the temple, right? Every day there were thousands and thousands of animals being slaughtered. There were chatas, you bring a sin offering, and a guilt offering, and a burnt offering. You know, all these offerings, it was like, you know, it was a place that everything was happening, you know? And there were, so you would imagine, what do you find always in a butcher shop? Flies. There was not one fly in the entire 500 amos by 500 amos. No flies. You believe this? And you know how much, and they took out the blood, because I had to sprinkle the blood on the Mizbeach, right? You'd have blood all over the place. You'd have the fats, you'd have the organs. I mean, it's like an oinam habo for flies. And for everything else that seeks to suck the blood out of people, mosquitoes, you name it, there wasn't one. That was the only place on earth that exterminators knew they had no business. No exterminating business. See, that's one miracle. And you can't believe this. No flies. That's one miracle. There were many. Another one, for instance, no animal. You ever see animals? They let it go. You know, they have to pass urine or whatever, right? Right? What? Yeah, defecate, right? The animal does that. There's no problem with an animal, you know. And that's it. Got to mop it up. You know, do this all the time. It never happened in the history of the temple that an animal either urinated or defecated. And they were there a long time. We're not talking here about, it never happened, you know? It's incredible. And animals, they're not embarrassed. I mean, they go when they go, and that's the end of it, you know? Never happened. It's an outright miracle. And then the smoke, the last one that'll go on, the smoke used to come up from the altar. Used to be, because they used to burn all the offerings, you know? And there's always wind. If you go to the desert wind, there's always a desert wind. It went straight up, never inclined, never. No matter how strong the wind was, there was no, smoke will veer based on the wind. Never happened. And there were many more miracles. Without getting into that, so a guy wasn't sure. Well, is there a God? Not a God. Just go to the temple, and there it is. 10 miracles ongoing. So obviously, we're not talking about an average building. So that itself is terrible. Just not to be able to experience the Beis Hamikdash is absolutely terrible. Okay? But the real question is, or rather, there's something else that's much worse. What is that? Okay. In order to understand that, you need to understand a certain setup. God said to Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, He said, it's your job not to listen to the snake. We know about the story of the snake and Adam and Eve, right? The snake was really the mouthpiece of the serpent. And he was trying to get Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, to sin. Right? Okay, so God said, your job is to avoid, to ignore the advice of this snake who had human intelligence and so on, right? That's your job. And they could have done it. Instead, what happened? They listened to the snake and they ate from the forbidden fruit, whatever that was, right? So God said something very interesting. He said like this, He said, until now your job was to ignore evil advice because they're telling you to sin against me. But now your job isn't to ignore evil. You must destroy it. Yeah. It's no longer sufficient to ignore the evil. You must kill evil. What does that mean? It's not just to destroy the snake. You need to kill the angel. There is an angel that represents evil. That's his job. Not that he is evil, although you can really question that. But his job is to tempt man. He's called the Son. The name of this angel is called the Son. Okay, he has 3 jobs. His first job is to tempt man, to enter the psyche of man, and to try to get you to sin, which he unfortunately does quite easily. Okay? Now, sinning, there's many ideas to what constitutes sin. Much more profound than what we think. But he wants you to sin. That's number 1. If a person sins, what happens? Then the Satan, so his first act is called the enticer, tempter. That's called the Yetzer Hara. That's the first job of the Satan. You see, that angel has a job to tempt you to sin. If he succeeds, so he takes off his hat as tempter, and he puts on his second hat. What's he called in his second hat? Satan, the adversary. He is actually the angel that brings you to court. Yes. He is actually the malach that invokes the judicial proceeding. He's the guy. So he gets up in front of the heavenly tribunal, and he says, I have a court case, I have a case against so-and-so, he sinned, and then they convene based on his prosecution. He is the heavenly DA. That's what he is. He's a district attorney. He's the prosecuting attorney. Very powerful because of that. What happens if the person is then prosecuted? He offers his evidence, and it's a whole different way of doing it up there, obviously, right? And if the court pronounces guilty, then he takes off his second hat, which is the prosecuting attorney, and he puts on his third hat. What's he called, the third hat? The Malach HaMoros, the angel of death. That's his third hat. Now, doesn't mean he kills. The Malach HaMoros, he executes the judgment itself. He's the tempter, he's the prosecuting attorney, and he's also the executioner of whatever they meted out. If they say this person has to have a loss of parnasa, he does it. He has the ability to interfere with the physical universe. He does it. He's the guy that executes. Okay? 3 jobs for one angel. Why? Because his really job is one job, and that is It's called din, justice. If you remember last year, I said that that you're not given this for free, you need to earn this. So the one who makes sure that you will earn it is the Sultan. That's his job. So he tempts you, because you got to withstand the temptation. If you fail, he prosecutes you, and then he executes the judgment. That's all his job called, the one who makes sure that you will earn whatever you earn through justice. Got it? So God said, it's not enough now to ignore the Sultan, and the snake was the mouthpiece of the Sultan. Your job is you need to kill him. Miso. Not bad. Your job is to eradicate, obliterate, annihilate, destroy. Did I use the word eradicate?
Yeah.
I don't want to do myself. Is to destroy this individual called the Sultan and to destroy evil in the universe. That's what God said to Adam once he sinned. So you sin, your job until now is to ignore evil. Shut the door, don't let him in. You let him in, you bought into his argument, okay, you gotta wipe the guy out, the angel. How do you wipe an angel out? You can't touch him. You have no idea how powerful? Even Yaakov, who fought with the Sultan, right? But getting into that, I mean, he was lucky to be alive after that conflict and so on. But anyway, so God said to Adam, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how you can destroy the Sultan. Listen very carefully, because you have no idea how many things happen because of this relationship. What does God do? God sends out a force. It's 10 forces. They create existence and they maintain its existence. That means each one of us has a pipe that goes straight to God. Through that pipe there's a divine energy. You see, that's how we exist. If God were to walk over and cut the pipe, which means there's the flow from God to us, the divine flow of energy, we would instantly cease to exist. We all need to be connected to God. That's how we exist. But it's invisible, so to speak. We don't see it. Okay? So what God did is he walked over to the Sultan. And the Sultan also has a pipe, right? Because how else would this exist? Everything needs God to exist. So the Sultan also has that pipe. Okay? So what God did, so to speak, he walks over to the Sultan and he cuts the pipe. That means that the divine flow of energy doesn't come to the Sultan. So before the Sultan is about to expire permanently, he takes the end of the Sultan's pipe and he connects it to the pipe of Adam Rishon. So the pipe comes down for God and it splits. One side goes to Adam Rishon and the other side goes to the Sultan. Wow. Interesting. So therefore the Sultan survives. But what's the problem now? The problem is there's only enough energy coming down to that pipe for only one side to survive, not both. So therefore, what happens? Adam and the Sultan, what's the relationship? Combat. It's a fight to the death. Who will get the energy? Who's going to get the Kedusha, the holiness? Because it's the divine energy, which is unbelievable Kedusha. That's what maintains existence. So it's a fight, it's combat. But what's interesting also, it's called, what's the relationship? It's inverse. It's like a seesaw. If one is high, then the other is low, right? If the other one is low, then the other is high. We relate with the Sultan like a seesaw. When we're taking the energy, he's getting sick. If he takes the energy, we get sick. Because it's only enough to allow only one side to exist. An amazing relationship. Where do you see this? You see it in different places. But one of the classic places is by Esau. Where God says, "Ula'oim mila'oim ye'emotz." When Rivka went and found out what's going on in Taiba, so the prophecy said, and one nation will always vie with the other nation. So Rashi says, who is the angel of Esau? The Sultan. That's his angel. So our relationship with Esau is what? When we're up, he is down. That's ula'oim mila'oim ye'emotz. One nation will always be stronger than the other. When the Jews are down, then Esau is up. Why? Why do we have that inverse relationship with Esau? Because that's the same relationship we have with his angel, his malach. Who's the malach? Son. You see, that's why we have that relationship with Esau. Because it comes from the Sultan's relationship with us. So we see, therefore, that the relationship that a Jew has with the Satan is called an inverse relationship. And the state of affairs is always combat. Therefore, yes.
I just didn't understand, why was the pipe cut to the Sutton? Why
So it became connected to Adam.
What,
Because like this, the Satan exists independent of man's acts.
yeah.
Now the Satan depends on the man's acts, which I have to say now.
But why did Hashem cut it? Originally it wasn't that way?
No.
Originally you had a separate
He has his own
pipe.
pipeline.
So when did it get cut?
Because God said your job is to kill the Satan. How do you kill an angel? So what he did is he connected the food source for the Satan to man.
With the time of Adam's sin.
What?
The time of
Adam,
Adam.
yes. Now how does it work? When Adam Rishon does the commandment of God, the flow goes to him. And he becomes energized, which means blessing. He becomes more spiritual. Nothing, he always has food to eat. It's an incredible utopia when he's taking the energy. Well, how does he get the energy? By doing the mitzvahs. He, the Adam Rishon, determines the flow, not the Satan. This is the problem. The Satan cannot determine the flow. He just has to wait and hopes man sins. So when Adam does the mitzvahs, he survives. In fact, he flourishes. And the Satan doesn't survive. He begins to grow weak. And if Adam does all the sins, then the Satan dies. You see, by connecting the pipeline, it enables man to destroy the Satan, to destroy evil. Now, what happens in the reverse? What happens if Adam sins? So then where does the energy go? To the side of the Satan. Yes. You should know one thing. Normally we would say, well, if we don't bring down holiness, so where does our holiness go? It stays up there. If we don't bring down Kedusha, what happens to the Kedusha? It stays up there, right? We block the pipe. But because of this relationship, that's not what happens. If we don't take it, he takes it. You see, the relationship between man and Satan is incredible. We feed the Satan. Either we eat or he eats. It's called yonik. Either man is yonik from the Kedusha, from his mitzvahs, or the Satan is yonik from the Kedusha because of the sins of man. Man determines which way the flow goes, not the Satan. It's interesting. You know, in America there's a game that resembles this. What's it called? I think there's a couple of games always. Football. What's the object of football? Who gets the ball? So when one side gets the ball, what do? They kick it into where? What do they have to do to get the ball over the what? The goal. But the word isn't really goal, it's goel. The word goal, G-O-A-L, really comes from the Hebrew word goel, redeemer. Exactly. We get that, it's incredible out there. The word goal really means goel. Gula, redemption. So we get the ball, we kick it over, right? We get redeemed, right? And the other team gets it, so of course they kick it over what they have. So it's like a football game. Both sides vie for this ball. You could use the same analogy with basketball, whatever. No? What was that? No, baseball, the object didn't get the ball. You get it, home runs, hits.
Yeah, that's how it's the same thing. Have most of the person, and you win.
Okay, I don't get too embroiled in the analogy. But you got that? So it's an unbelievable relationship. It's beyond belief. It's incredible. So therefore we see, one, that the relationship we have with the Satan is we both vie for the same steak, same food source, divine energy. If we do mitzvahs, we get it, he begins to die. If we sin, he gets it. And when he gets it, he flourishes. It was very powerful. This is the problem. Now,
Very Kessin.
We-
Ultimately, how do we destroy them?
well, because we do all the mitzvahs. Now wait, let's go slow. It's a large idea, but I just want to focus in on the main idea. Okay? Replace Adam Rishon with who? Who took over the place of Adam Rishon? The Jews. The power of the Jew is that we can bring down the Kedusha to this earth. I mentioned it last week. We have the ability to bring down the ore, the light, the energy of the spheres, and change this world into what? Into Olam Haba. That's the point of creation. Zikuch, you see. Okay? But now the problem is, if we don't bring it down, it goes to the other side. This is the problem. So we actually energize evil. So the Jew has replaced Adam Rishon, and the definition of a Jew is one who is able to bring down the energy, the divine light source energy of the spheres as a result of his acts. That is the true spiritual definition of the Jew. If you can do it, you're considered Jewish. If you can't do it, you're considered a non-Jew. That is the essential definition of a Jew. He who can bring down an energy that exists in another sphere, Kedusha, holiness, right? That's what a Jew does, every time he does a mitzvah. So therefore, if the Jew does the mitzvahs, if all the Jews do the mitzvahs, what happens to the Satan? He gets weak. And when he gets weak, weaker and weaker, and if all the Jews do all the mitzvahs, the Satan dies. Literally. That's it, we did it. Because he needs to vie for the same energy source. Okay? If, however, the Jews sin, then he gets the energy. And he gets more and more as we sin. What does he do with the energy? What does a Satan want to do with all this holiness? Does he want to daven shachars? Does he want to put on phylacteries and put on a talus? Nah, he's not interested in that. What does he do with all that energy? Is what he does. He therefore has the ability to empower the non-Jews to become great. The koyach of the goyim, the koyach of the Erev Rav, those Jews who want to destroy Judaism, comes from the energy that the Satan took from us. This is the secret of history.
Where are you getting your information from?
Where do I get information?
If I may ask, where are you getting all this information?
Why, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Wow.
You didn't learn this by your guy, did you?
No.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Where are you getting all your information from?
This is classic Kabbalah. Concept of the klippas. What energizes the klippa? Kedusha. Where does he get the Kedusha from? Our Chatoy. See, you know that. But you didn't know this? No. Well, that's my job, to fill you in. Anyway, now, you're going to look at me and say, wait a minute, this is incredible. I mean, we are responsible for energizing evil. And the answer is yes. Because the rule is now, Kedusha cannot just stay up because we didn't do. You sin. It's not that the Kedusha stays up. It actually flows to another being that uses it to destroy the Jews. This is the study of the history of Jews. What was that?
The same Kedusha, the same holiness?
No, the Kedusha energizes him.
Yeah, but it can't be the same Kedusha.
It is, because he can't survive. You understand? Nobody can do anything without Kedusha. Nobody. You know, there was once, because it's so very interesting. There was a movie many years ago called Star Wars. Yes? Whoever, it's a whole understanding why God gave this idea to a guy. What's his name again?
George Lucas.
George Lucas. But Lucas tapped into a Kabbalistic concept. He came into a concept called the Force.
You probably did.
But the Force can go either way. He came into that concept that what energizes people isn't good and evil. No. It's only one thing called the Force, which is neutral. And depending on what you want to do with it, you're energized either way. That's a Kabbalistic concept. There are reasons why God is spreading Kabbalistic concept to Hollywood. Because he's using Hollywood to spread Kabbalistic concepts. Because that's how he's informing the Jews. Because when God brings the Mashiach, he wants the whole world to know Kabbalistic ideas. So they won't faint because of what's going on. That's another shir. Anyway, because you find that many movies have Kabbalistic concepts. It's astounding. The concept of the Redeemer, the concept of the force that goes either way. Anyway, I don't think we go into that, but anyway.
One question about Star Wars, though. I understand this on a spiritual level.
Oh, by the way, they fight with lightsabers. Or light. What's the difference between we want to take the light or they take the light? That's exactly what they fight with, a lightsaber. Hey, this guy had so many parallels, and so on, you know. And by the way, he calls it a Jedi Knight. Jedi Knight. It's not a Jedi Knight, it's a Judah Knight.
It's true. It's way too close.
Yeah.
Rudy, yeah.
Good.
I want to get, in the Star Wars, which means the real war happens in heaven, not here. We bring down, and that's exactly what I'm saying. The real war, when you do a mitzvah, happens in heaven. Who's getting the energy? And then the results come down here. Anyway, I want to give Lucas a break. But anyway, but it's an amazing thing. Now, you're going to say to me, wait a minute, where do you see this history? Do you actually see this? That we could take the energy away from the Sultan and then he begins to die, or reverse, that we give him the energy and he begins to thrive, flourish, and energize the Goyim to destroy the Jews? Do we see it? Of course we see it. Let me give you a couple of examples. And then you'll understand what Tisha B'Av is really all about. The first temple was destroyed 2,500 years ago. Right? First Beis HaMikdash. You know what was spectacular about that? Now, here's the rule you need to know. The Sultan doesn't get energy, he gets what we get. If we're eating steak, he eats steak if we give it to him. If we're eating tuna fish, he eats tuna fish. He gets what we get, except we just give it over to him. Okay? 2,500 years ago, what happened? First temple was destroyed. Right? What does that mean? It means God left. Where'd God go? Does he go home? No. What it means is that God pulls back his ore, his energy, and where does it go? To the other side. So what God says, measure for measure. You don't want me, I will let him take me. Which means that I'm going to allow him to take from that energy and he will use it against you. That's measure for measure. That's called divine justice, which is what this is all about. What did we have at the first Beis HaMikdash? We had prophecy. We had an unbelievable view of God. We had prophets who brought down incredible understanding of who God is. When we lost the temple, what did we lose? We lost prophecy, basically. Okay? But wait a minute. If we lost prophecy, the ability to understand who God is in a much greater way, right? So where did it go? It went to the other side. How? Do you know that most of the religions of the world happened at the time of the destruction, within a 100-year period of the first temple's destruction? Are you aware of that? Take a look. Greek philosophy, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Pythagoras. When did they all live? They all lived at that time.
Yeah.
The Chokhmah of Yavan is our Chokhmah that we gave to them. That's why it happened within a 100-year period of the Beis HaMikdash. You see. Amazing. Those are the major religions of the world. That's in the West. What about in the East? Buddhism was founded then. Taoism was founded when? Then. Confucianism. There's 600 million Buddhists. Hundreds of millions of Confucius. Right? And Taoism, the religion of China. All of them, the Chokhmah of Greece and the religions of the East, all came within a 100-year period of the time of the Beis HaMikdash. How do you explain that? Was that an accident? No, because we lost this incredible understanding of who God is, and they got that understanding of who God is as major religions. That's it. The major religions at that time is our giving the Sultan his due. Interesting, isn't it? Not only that, even Rome became a nation in 525 BCE. Rome that was destined to destroy the second Beis HaMikdash. You see. Okay. That's interesting. Second Beis HaMikdash. What did we lose? God left. So what did we lose? Whatever we lost goes to the Goyim. What did we lose? If God left, that means that we gave the Goyim a greater vision of God that they never had before. What religion emerged right after the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash?
Christianity.
Christianity. Where did it come from? You think it came by accident? Of course not. Not only that, it's interesting. Christianity is a very interesting religion. It's a great deal to talk about that. But essentially, when you look at Christianity, you observe something very interesting. Christianity is a Moshe Kapoya. Christianity is an opposite of Judaism. We say that we have the Torah. What do they say? They have the Torah. They have the New Testament. Christianity is based on Judaism. We say we have the Torah, the Bible, They say that they have the Torah, the New Testament, right? We say that what? That we have the Mashiach. What do they say? They have the Mashiach, Yeshu. It's amazing, right? We say that we're Beis Yisrael. We're the house of Israel. What do they hold they are? They hold the house of Israel. That God changed us from us to them. Christianity stands on Judaism. It's astounding. In fact, even the Pope wears a yarmulke.
He also wears the kohen.
Yeah. Why? Because Christianity is basically a usurpation. It's a gezela of Judaism. In fact, if you took Judaism away, there would be no such thing as Christianity. In fact, even Yeshiva was Jewish. Even he wouldn't exist. It's astounding. Christianity is an unusual religion. Most religions have nothing to do with Judaism. Nothing. They have their belief system and that's it. Christianity's belief system is totally predicated on Judaism. From that they are Israel, they have the Torah, they have the Redeemer, right? And even the Catholic Church has so much stuff going on it that is Jewish. In fact, ultimately, what is Christianity? It's really paganism with a Jewish veneer. That's really what it is. That was Paul's incredible idea. Because he knew they wouldn't accept Judaism as is, too many mitzvahs. But he knew they would accept another form of paganism, which is what she did. Christianity is really paganism. Most of their stuff is pagan, but it has a Jewish window dressing. So it looks Jewish. Right? It talks about the Bible, the New Testament, it talks about the prophets. They believe in Avraham, Yitzchak, now they believe in this stuff, which by the way is their undoing. That's what destroys them. Because the Torah contradicts completely, but I'm not going to get to Christianity, you know? But if you think about it, Christianity is paganism with a Jewish window dressing. It's really what it is. You see? And therefore, as a result of that, where did it come from? Something. We gave him, the second base Hamikdash was destroyed, we gave him that ability to perceive God. He took it and he gave it as a major religion. In fact, what is the major destructive power of Christianity? You really want to hear the kicker. Why did God leave the second temple? The Gemara says, Sinas Chinam, baseless hatred. And Rashi, commentators say it wasn't really baseless hatred. It was Lashon Hara that gave rise to baseless hatred that destroyed the second temple. Slander. What is the major destructive power of Christianity against the Jews?
Slander against the Jews.
Exactly. Slander. The whole New Testament is nothing more than a book of what? Of slander. Why? Why is it that the major weapon of the Goyim, the Christians, to destroy the Jews is Lashon Hara? That's how they destroy the Jews, that we killed their guy, right? I mean, they've been cursing the Jews are the sons of the devil. This is not only Lashon Hara, it's Motzi Shemra, it's not even true. It's false. That's their major argument. The hatred of Christianity against Judaism basically is Lashon Hara. It's actually Motzi Shemra. Why? Measure for measure. We destroyed the temple through Lashon Hara, so God says, okay, you destroyed it through Lashon Hara, I'm going to give the power of Lashon Hara and the ability to perceive God more accurately, because Trinity is more accurate than paganism, to the Goyim, through the Satan. He's energized, he gives the religion to the Satan, and wham, for 2,000 years they've been killing Jews. Amazing, isn't it? Those are two historical events where you see clearly how it went from one side to the other side. And history is shaped by that. I could continue and give many more examples which are fascinating to see the switch from us to them because of our chatoim. But the key concept now, so what does that do with Tisha B'Av? You want to experience Tisha B'Av? I will tell you what to do. You go to Fifth Avenue in New York and you walk down Fifth Avenue. It's magnificent. It's beautiful. Do you know what it says? You daven in the morning, Shachris. A very important verse. Ad mosai uscha b'shvi v'sif'atcha b'yatzor. How long, Ad mosai, how long uscha, your might, will be in captivity? What does that pasuk say? Our might is in captivity. Who? The Satan. V'sif'atcha, and your beauty b'yatzor, in the hands of the enemy. That pasuk says, our beauty right? And our might, it didn't disappear. It was given over to the hands of the enemy. It says in the pasuk that. Isn't that what I'm saying? But what did we give him? Tiferes and ois, might and beauty. I really want to be blown away, but I'm not going to go into it. It's a whole year. When they destroyed the World Trade Center, what did they destroy? The Muslims. They destroyed the World Trade Center. That's the beauty. And what was the other thing they destroyed? The Pentagon. The ois, the might. Interesting. They took out the two edifices which represent our gifts, which we gave them. There's a great deal to talk about why, because I'm not going to talk about Islam now, what the truth about Islam is, Kabbalistically, what's really going on. But it's fascinating that the World Trade Center, 9/11, they took out the beauty of civilization, which is the World Trade Centers, right? And they took out the Pentagon, Tiferes and Ois. Isn't that fascinating of America, that they took that out? Yes. Because whoever after America and wants, whoever's after the Jews, always wants the Tiferes and Ois. So if you really want to experience Tisha B'Av, what are you experiencing? Not only do we have a lack of the Beis Hamikdash, but we gave the beauty and our might to the Tzaddik, who gives it to the Goyim, who destroys us. That's the real tragedy of Tisha B'Av. So if you want to experience Tisha B'Av, just walk down Fifth Avenue. Magnificent. The shops, the stores, the what's called in Yiddish the fanem, the magnificence of New York is an incredible city. The beauty of it, of the shops, the sophistication, the materialism. It's awesome. Where did they get that from? From us. That's our Tiferes and Ois. And if you want the Chochmah, where do you go? You go to Boston. Did you ever see what a college looks like? You know, it's funny. I give a share in Lakewood, you know. So on the way back to Brooklyn, I passed Monmouth College. Now, Monmouth College is a nothing of a college. Nobody even heard of it, you know. Yet it's got a campus over 100 acres. Buildings, you know. That's called a place to learn. It's a nothing college, you know. But a nothing college has the beauty of wisdom in it. It's got buildings, got campuses, got science labs, it's got all that going for it, right? You know what I'm saying? How long was the Churva destroyed? That's what we have. You ever walk into a shtibel? A shul? You know? A shtibel? You want to turn around and walk out. Where's the beauty of the shul? This should be magnificent. But we lost out first, our beauty. That's why when you look at a yeshiva or a shul or things spiritual, it's a million miles away from a simple store that a goya has. You see. Why? Because they have the Tiferes Ois, we give it to them. Because of the sinas chinam and the lashon hara. Those are the two chief sins that destroy us and create the golus. You see, that's the tragedy of Tisha B'Av. Yeah, we think the tragedy is we have no Beis Hamikdash. Of course that's part of the tragedy. But the real tragedy is we gave it to a party that wants to kill us and has been doing so for 2,000 years. The weapon of the Christianity is slander. It's lashon hara. That's what its weapon is. Why? Because that's what we did. God says, you want to play around with me? You want to kill my Beis Hamikdash? Because you're lashon hara? I'm going to give your power of speech, I'm going to give it to the Goyim. And they kill us 2,000 years. Did you ever read what some of these guys have said about the Jews? Unbelievable, the lashon hara. It's mighty shemra. It's lies, what they've said about Jews. But that, we've given them the power of speech to destroy us. Is this chance? Does it look like chance? I've only given you 2 examples. There are many more, you see. But the ability of chokhmah, of science, we've given them without getting into the whole thing.
We allowed it, Rabbi. We allowed it.
No,
we didn't give it to them on a silver platter.
So what? You gave them on a different platter.
You give it to them on a silver platter. I don't think so.
But that's beauty and certainly
It
power.
doesn't make a
has been,
difference how we gave it to them.
coming back to
They've
the
got it.
They got it.
That's the main thing. But it's our wisdom.
I know.
According to what you said, it's not true that we didn't give it to them. We did give it to them. You got the food coming down 2 pipes, but doesn't go.
You don't even know how much we gave to them. But that's another share.
You blocked up their
I'm just
pipe
giving
and
you a
gave
little,
it to them.
I'm giving you that there are 2 fundamental dimensions to Tisha B'Av. One is the loss of the Beis Hamikdash, which means the loss of the divine presence. The second thing is that divine presence now serves as an energy source for the Sultan, who now can give it to Goyim, who can destroy Klal Yisrael.
Are you saying
Measure for measure.
that we should not be surprised or shocked with the Goyim are doing to us now? I should sit back and just observe, because that's the way it's gonna, has happened.
No, I never said that.
No, but I'm asking.
I never said to sit back and observe, no.
No.
No, I didn't say that, right?
No,
I
you
just
didn't
said
say
that
but
whatever
I'm
they
asking for
have.
me, what do I do?
Oh, I will tell you. That's an excellent question. Right? I gotta end. You're gonna throw me out. You're gonna take away my money. Anyway, they're gonna reduce my salary.
Zero minus zero is.
Anyway, you know, imagine if they made an announcement that all of a sudden a Basco came out, the divine voice, and said, Jews, I give you permission to build a temple. Right? Okay, it takes a lot of money to build a temple. And they came over to you and say, would you like to donate, right? Would you like to donate to build a temple of God? What would you say? I'm sorry? Of course not. Which Jew in his right mind wouldn't write out a check? $1,000, $10,000. That's your part in the divine structure. I mean, it's beyond belief. Like, there cannot be a better place to give your charity money, right? You know what I'll tell you guys? You don't have to give a dime. You can each have an unbelievable piece of the Beis HaMikdash. How? Don't talk Lashon Hara. Because that's what does it. It's incredible. If Lashon Hara is the reason why the verdict was the destruction of the temple, so all you do is learn the laws of Lashon Hara, the halachas, and don't speak. And that, okay, it takes Jews, but your chelik, you've just put a brick, whatever it equals, or a huge section of the Beis HaMikdash by not talking Lashon Hara. Hey, I'm showing you how to avoid paying a check. You see? So that's the answer. The answer is not to talk Lashon Hara, right? And to spread the concept, Shmiras HaLashon. Be very careful, because that's the chief sin that creates the verdict of no Beis HaMikdash. That's your answer. Basically, that's your answer. Any questions?
Yeah, has power not been coming back to
What?
Jews? Has power, at least power, not been coming back in the 20th century?
Yes, it's coming back, but that's another shield. It's coming back in an incredible way, yes. It's come back in an incredible way. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'll do that next week, we'll see.
So insofar as
In fact, it's coming back under your nose, you don't even see it. Very interesting. Now Tisha B'Av is another Tisha B'Av.
It is, you're right.
Now you get even more and more because of what the Sultan has. Anyway,
insofar as Rambam says that Christianity is a preparation of the
Yeah,
for
yes.